I'm 76 years old, and I have more money set aside than I ever thought I would. It's a strange thing to admit, because I also have less life left than I ever let myself imagine. I'm not telling you this to be pitied, and I'm not trying to sound wise. I'm saying it out loud because it sits in my chest like a stone. I spent 25 years saving money, and then I ran out of time to use it well. These days, my mornings are slow. I wake up early out of habit, even though there's nowhere I have to be. I make coffee and drink it by the window. There's a little notebook on the table where I write down what bills are due, even though everything is on auto pay. Old habits don't die just because your life changes. Sometimes I look at my bank account and I feel almost embarrassed. Not because I'm rich, I'm not, but because I guarded it like it was the thing that would keep everything safe. Like if I just stacked enough away, nothing bad could reach us. It didn't work that way. When I was younger, saving felt like virtue. That's how it was taught to me. My father kept cash in envelopes. My mother reused everything until it fell apart. We weren't starving, but we were always watching, always counting. I learned early that being careful was the same as being good. I got my first steady job in my early 20s at a manufacturing plant. It was loud, dirty, and it paid better than anything else around. When I married Linda, we were proud of ourselves for not going into debt. We bought a small house with a cracked driveway and a narrow kitchen. I still remember her scrubbing the cabinets the first week like she could clean our future into place. We had 2 kids. The expenses came in waves: diapers, shoes, school supplies, braces. I don't regret providing. I don't regret the nights I worked late because the furnace went out or the car needed a new transmission. Those were real needs. But what I did without realizing it was turn saving into a lifestyle, into a religion. And once it becomes that, you don't notice what it starts taking from you. There were 100 small moments where someone asked for time, and I answered with money instead. Linda would mention a trip, nothing fancy, a few days by the water. She'd say, "We could go in the fall when it's quiet." And I'd say, "Let's wait until the kids are older." Or, "Let's do it when work slows down." Or, "We'll go next year when we have a little more put away." Next year became a phrase I used like a blanket. I threw it over everything I didn't want to face. My son played baseball. I went to some games, not none. I don't want to lie. But I missed enough that he stopped looking for me in the stands. He'd glance, then he'd focus on the field. I used to tell myself he didn't care. Kids just want to play, I'd think. The truth is, he cared. He just learned not to expect. My daughter had a school concert once. Linda was already dressed and waiting by the door, holding the camcorder we barely used. I told her I had to stay late. There was a shipment coming in. Overtime was available. She looked at me for a long moment, like she was deciding whether to argue. Then she nodded like a tired person and left without me. When she got home, she didn't yell. She just set the camcorder on the counter and said, "She looked for you." That was it. 2 sentences. I wish she had yelled. It would have meant there was still fight in it. The slow cost wasn't one big disaster. It was quieter than that. It was a drift. We stopped talking at night because I was tired. We stopped going out because it cost money. We stopped inviting friends over because I didn't want to spend on food and beer for no reason. And then the friends stopped calling. Not out of anger, just out of habit. People fill the spaces where they're welcomed. I told myself I was doing it for my family. I believed that. I still do in a way. But I also did it because I was afraid. Afraid of slipping backward. Afraid of being the kind of man who couldn't handle life. The turning point wasn't when I retired. Retirement was fine at first. We had plans then. We finally booked a trip to see the coast. We even bought 2 suitcases, the good kind with wheels. They sat in the bedroom like a promise. 3 months later, Linda found a lump. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie scene. We sat in a white room while a doctor explained things in careful words. I remember staring at his hands more than his face. I remember thinking, in the dumbest way, that we had waited for the wrong season. The money went fast after that, not because we were reckless, because illness has its own appetite. Co-pays, medications, equipment, gas back and forth to appointments, little things that add up until you stop counting. We still had enough in the end. That's the part that makes me feel sick sometimes. I did all that saving, all that waiting, and the one thing I couldn't buy was time that didn't hurt. Linda died 2 years after the diagnosis. I still have the suitcases. Now my body isn't what it was. My knees ache when it rains. My breath goes short on stairs. I can travel technically. I can pay for it. But travel isn't just money. It's energy. It's comfort in the unknown. It's being able to walk all day and sleep in a strange bed without feeling like you've been beaten. And the other thing is this: without her, it's not the same. That's not romantic. It's practical. She was my person, the one who would have laughed at the wrong turns and talked to strangers and made a place feel familiar. Without her, it feels like I'm just moving my loneliness to a different zip code. What can't be fixed is not just the trip, it's the tone of my life. The way I trained my family to accept later as love. The way my kids learned to keep their wants small around me. We're polite now. We're decent to each other. They call, I call. But there's a distance that didn't come from one fight. It came from 1,000 tiny disappointments. I have grandkids. They're good kids. They hug me because they're told to. They don't know me. That's on me more than I want to admit. If you're listening to this and you're young enough that your knees don't remind you what day it is, I'm not going to tell you not to save. Saving matters. Being responsible matters. I'm only saying this: don't make someday your whole plan. Don't treat the people you love like they're guaranteed. Don't wait for the perfect time to sit at the table a little longer, or take the cheap trip, or show up to the thing that seems small. Small is what you end up missing. If this meant something to you, and you feel like sharing, I'd like to know what you've been putting off. Not for me, just so you can hear yourself say it. I'm 76. I'm sitting in a quiet house with a well-funded future I may not live long enough to spend. And there are nights I would trade all of it for one ordinary week I refused to take when it was still mine to have.